Carlos Alcaraz hits rock bottom in Miami. And hasn't hesitated to admit it. After a shocking defeat to David Goffin in his debut at the Masters 1000, the world number 3 has publicly acknowledged that he's not in a good place mentally or physically, delivering one of his toughest press conferences to date. What's going on with Carlitos at the start of 2025? Why can't he bounce back? Stay with us, because today we're breaking down the tough moment the Mercian is going through, his most sincere words. And what's next on his calendar? The 2025 season is not going the way Carlos Alcaraz had dreamed. After a solid semifinal in Indian Wells, everyone thought Miami would be the tournament where he regained momentum. But it wasn't to be. The Mercian fell in 3 sets to David Goffin, a rival who punished every mistake and capitalized on the ups and downs of an unrecognizable Alcaraz. The final score was 7-5, 6-4, 3-6, sealing one of the biggest surprises of the tournament. It was clear from the second set that Carlos wasn't comfortable on court. He struggled to find rhythm, his body language showed frustration, and at times he seemed out of ideas against a solid, mistake-free Goffin. In the post-match press conference, Alcaraz didn't hide. "It was a very poor level from me, I admit it. He was the better player today," he said with total honesty. But he didn't stop there. He also spoke about his physical condition, admitting that he wasn't at 100% during the match. "I didn't play well, and physically I didn't feel good either. When you have no confidence in your tennis or your body, everything becomes much harder," he explained, visibly affected. For someone like Carlitos, who plays with passion, intensity, and joy, seeing him so subdued is strange and worrying. In his analysis, he made it clear that it wasn't just about tactics or specific mistakes, but that something deeper is affecting him. The toughest part came when he spoke about his emotional state. For the first time in a long time, Carlos Alcaraz admitted he was messed up emotionally after a loss. "Just like that, emotionally, I'm messed up, to be honest. This is a tournament where I want to do well, and losing in the first round really hurts," he said bluntly. And the Miami Open isn't just any tournament for him. This is where he won his first Masters 1000 back in 2022, marking the start of his meteoric rise. Coming back to this stage and exiting in the opening round, against a theoretically lower-ranked opponent, was a heavy blow. "I still don't know how the next few days will go for me. There will be time to analyze what happened, and also to forget it," he said, hinting that he'll need some time to process the loss. These kinds of statements are rare from a player who has always shown a fresh, positive, and fighting image. But they also show that Carlitos is human, and that the pressure of being among the best is not always easy to handle. "I thought I was in good shape after Indian Wells, but now with this defeat I don't know what to say," he concluded, making it clear he's in a moment of confusion and frustration. The season is long, and there are still many tournaments ahead, especially on clay, where he usually feels more comfortable. But this loss marks a turning point. It's time to reset, self-reflect, and start rebuilding from scratch. And you, do you think Alcaraz will bounce back from this emotional slump? Or does this rocky start to 2025 point to something deeper? Let us know in the comments, and if you're enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, because the coming weeks are crucial in the tennis world. Carlos Alcaraz's early exit at the hands of David Goffin, 6-7, 6-4, 6-3, has shaken the foundations of the 2025 Miami Open. The Mercian arrived as a clear favorite in the betting odds, especially after Jannik Sinner's suspension and a solid semifinal run in Indian Wells. But this time, his debut was also his farewell. With Alcaraz out, Novak Djokovic has stepped up. The Serbian, who didn't shine particularly in Indian Wells, now has a golden opportunity to make up lost ground, add another title to his resume, and surpass a historic record he shared with Rafa Nadal. Following his victory over Australian Rinky Hijikata in his opener, 6-0, 7-6, Noel has now tied Nadal's 410 wins in Masters 1000 tournaments, and could surpass that figure in his next match against Camilo Ugo Carabelli. Just another sign that at 37, Djokovic is still writing legendary chapters. Although the match against Hijikata began with total domination by the Serb, the second set was tighter and served as a reminder that Djokovic still isn't at his best. But the final result was what he needed: a solid win, no excessive physical strain, and positive signs heading into the next rounds. With Alcaraz out of the draw and Sinner absent due to suspension, the pressure falls squarely on Djokovic. He's the absolute favorite, yes, but also the main target for every challenger looking to dethrone the all-time great. The good news for him? He has plenty of experience handling that kind of expectation. However, he's not alone in the race for the title. One name that has earned a spot among the top contenders is Jack Draper. The Brit, after winning the title in Indian Wells, has taken a major leap on the ATP circuit. His powerful tennis, mental growth, and on-court consistency have made him the second strongest candidate according to the bookmakers. Draper not only beat Alcaraz in the California semifinals, but he's now looking to cement his momentum with a second consecutive crown. If he pulls it off, he'll confirm he's not just a promising youngster, he's a true force in the top tier of world tennis. Other names like Alexander Zverev or Alex de Minaur are also in the mix, but their recent form and Draper's rise have pushed them down the odds list. Zverev, the current world number 2, still hasn't convinced with his tennis and has had a rocky start to the season, while de Minaur is still chasing consistency at major tournaments. So, the path seems wide open for a Djokovic who knows he can't waste this moment, but also for a Draper who comes in with no pressure, in peak form, and eager to keep surprising. Alcaraz's fall has left a void. And now the question is, will the usual suspect fill it, or the new kid pushing hard from behind? Carlos Alcaraz's first-round elimination from the 2025 Miami Open was more than just a sporting defeat. His loss to an inspired David Goffin not only knocked him out of one of the season's key tournaments, but also dealt a serious blow in the ATP ranking battle. The Mercian was defending a massive number of points as the 2022 champion, and by losing in his opening match, he only added 10 points to his tally. This results in a major loss of ground at a critical moment in the season, especially with Jannik Sinner suspended and out of action until May 7th. Right now, Alcaraz has not only lost the second spot in the rankings, which is now held by Alexander Zverev, but he's also fallen over 3,600 points behind Sinner, who, incredibly, remains comfortably at number 1 without even competing. It was a golden opportunity. And Carlitos couldn't take advantage. Meanwhile, Zverev continues to advance confidently in the tournament and will debut against Jacob Fernley. The German now holds an 835-point lead over the Mercian, and with every round he clears in Miami, that gap could widen even further. But the most striking stat involves Jannik Sinner. Despite serving a suspension, and unable to compete until May, the Italian retains the top spot in the rankings with a 3,610-point lead over Alcaraz. That's a very comfortable cushion with just a month and a half to go before his return. This means that even if Carlos has a strong claycourt swing, it will be very difficult for him to get close to the number 1 spot in the first half of the year. Right now, his immediate priority should be to regain his form, find consistency, and reconnect with his best tennis. Otherwise, even his place in the top 3 could soon be at risk. It's worth remembering that Alcaraz was very self-critical after his loss to Goffin, admitting that he didn't feel well physically or mentally, and that he's emotionally shaken right now. That, combined with the ranking setback, presents a challenging scenario ahead of the clay season, where he has historically delivered strong performances. The good news is that there's still a long road ahead: Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros. All these tournaments offer a wealth of points, and if Carlos can get back to form, he still has time to close the gap before Sinner returns. That said, he needs more than good intentions. He needs solid victories, physical consistency, and, above all, to shake off the mental doubts that have plagued him at the start of 2025. Alcaraz's defeat in Miami was a turning point. What seemed like the perfect chance to close the gap on the suspended Jannik Sinner has become a painful step back in the rankings, leaving him with more questions than answers. The gap to world number 1 is growing, Zverev is pulling away. And the clock is already ticking. But if there's one thing Alcaraz has shown in his short but intense career, it's that he can bounce back from tough moments. Will he do it during the clay swing? We'll soon find out. And you, do you think Carlos Alcaraz can recover and close the gap before Sinner returns? Or will this be the year he has to step back from the spotlight? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, turn on the bell, and join us as we closely follow the ATP rankings. See you in the next video. With more analysis, more emotion, and more world-class tennis.